Hi, Liz here, and we are at EMOs Creative Studio, where anything you create is beautiful because you created it. And today, I'm going to show you how to make this unit using 3 2.5-inch squares to make a 9-patch block. This is called a unit. So I've got a unit with 2 prints and a solid in the center. I have a unit that has 2 solids and a print in the center. And I have a third unit that has 2 prints and a solid. You're thinking, oh my God, does that mean I have to cut this fabric into 2.5-inch squares and sew each and every unit? No. I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to get these units, let me fold it this way so it doesn't get confusing to you, to make these units, these 3 strip units. So you can either use a jelly roll, which is a roll that is 2.5 inches by width of fabric, usually 44 to 45 inches. This jelly roll was made at the manufacturer using a specific line of fabric. This jelly roll, every piece of fabric in this jelly roll has the same kind of design, only it is in different shades of brown and grayish colors. As you can see, it's a charcoal gray, a light gray, and then it goes into a tan, and then into a rust, and then into like a pinky rose, and then into a beige, and then we start the color again of charcoal gray, light gray, brown, a rusty color, a pinky color, and a beige. And you have, in this particular jelly roll, there are 3 sets of that combination. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 3 is 18. So this is not a complete jelly roll. I probably have used pieces of this. A normal jelly roll has 42 pieces of fabric in it. This is probably a mini jelly roll because I've got 2 of them that are the same configuration of colors. Now, if you like to use jelly rolls, they are a little bit more expensive to purchase. They're usually, if you buy them retail, somewhere between 30 and 40 bucks, depending on who the manufacturer is. But for me, because I want to keep it just in these 2 types of fabric, which are both 100% cotton design, I have a solid and a print, and I'm making my own strips. So I've cut out strips for this particular unit. I have 3 strips. Each strip is 2.5 inches wide by width, or WOF, of fabric. That is from selvage, S-E-L-V-A-G-E, to selvage. It's about 44 inches wide or long. So what I want to do is I want to sew the solid to the print, and then I want to sew the print to this unit. So right now I've got 3 different sections that I'm going to sew together. Now, if you've ever sewn strips together, sometimes you'll see that they're a little off bowed, and one way to get it not to bow is when you are sewing your strip sets together. My first strip set, I will start with right sides together. Let me show you how I'm doing that. Of course, I can't pull it apart. I'm putting right sides together, and I'm going to go to my machine, and I'm going to make a precise 1/4 inch strip, a seam allowance. I'm going to start here and go all the way down, so, and then I'm going to open it up. I'm going to iron it open, and then I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to attach my print to this side of the solid, and then I'm going to sew all the way down. I am sewing in opposite directions to avoid that bowed look. So why don't we go over to the machine so I could show you what it looks like to sew these two pieces together. For my new sewers, my newbies that are starting to sew for the first time, I don't want you to freak out and get all upset and freak out, because I'm not pinning these together. I am going to be able to sew these without having the threads or the pieces of fabric get all wonky and not match up. I'm going to use my hands, and I'm going to use the speed of the machine to make sure that the edges are even on this side. My foot that I'm using on my walking foot is 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to, 1/4 of an inch from the needle. I'm going to use the edge of my foot and match it up to the edge of my fabric. I want my new sewers to have confidence. Again, you're going to use your hands and the speed of the machine to make sure that you have a precise 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. This is not a race. You don't have to go fast. Again, I do not backstitch the beginning or the end of my strip. So let's go. As you can see, I started the machine slow, and I'm using my hands to guide. I'm making sure that my pieces of fabric, my two pieces of fabric, are even. I stop. I use my nails to make sure that the two pieces of fabric are even right here. Again, using my hands, and I'm guiding the fabric underneath the presser foot or the walking foot in this case. I'm not going fast. I've got my stitching length at 2, which is going to give me a nice stitching length. I'm going to stop again. I'm going to make sure my fabric is even. If it's not, I'm going to use my nails to push the fabric together. Again, I've got both of my hands up, not under the needle, because I've already sewn my finger twice, index finger twice, and it is very painful. So I've learned my lesson. Keep my fingers as far away as I can without messing up my fabric. But with this walking foot, I've got this right here that will prevent my finger from going underneath the needle. Alright, do you notice I stopped? I made sure my fabric is even. Again, we're going to stop and make sure my fabric is even. Again, this is not a race. We don't have to hurry up. We want to make sure that we have a precise 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I'm going to stop again. I'm going to make sure that my fabric is lined up perfectly. If it's not, I'll use my fingers to slide it, or my nails to slide it. And I continue sewing. Now sure, I can make this machine go faster if I want, but I don't want to have a sloppy line or sloppy seam or sloppy stitching. Okay, let me bring it up just a couple more stitches so you can see that it's not equal. So I'm going to stop, and I'm going to sew. I'm going to match up my fabric. The solid fabric is probably 44 inches, and the print fabric is probably 45 inches wide. And why do I say that? Because as we're coming towards the end here, you will see that they do not match at the bottom over here. You see how the solid stopping right here, and then I've got about an inch of print. But that's okay, because you'll see what we're gonna do as we continue doing this. All right. My machine is a professional machine. This was one of the things I bought myself before I retired. It was my retirement present to myself, I guess you want to say. So this machine has the luxury of having a cutting mechanism so that I don't have to be wasting my threads. I've just started using this cutting mechanism because I was afraid to use it. In my other videos, you'll see I'll pull out my project and I'll have this long piece of thread. I found that I was wasting a lot of thread. I had to put on my big girl pants and say I've got to use this cutting feature on my machine. All right, you see that I've got my two pieces sewn together, my two strips. What I'm going to do is I am going to go to my ironing board, and I'm using the print fabric as my dark fabric, so I want to iron the seam open to the dark side. So I'm going to set my seam by using my iron this way, and then I'm going to open it up this way. And when I come back to you, I'm going to have this ironed open, and I'm going to show you how to sew this so that you don't get a piece of fabric that is bowed. So give me a few moments and I'll come back to you. Okay, as you can see, I've ironed my two strip unit open with the seam allowance to the dark side, which in this case is the printed side. You see that I started off with an even edge, and on this end it's an uneven edge. Because I don't want to have that bow with my long strip, I'm going to attach my print to this end of the two strip unit. And I'm going to make sure that it is even. Again, I'm not using pins, and for my newbies, I don't want you to get all nervous. You can do the same thing, because you're going to use your fingers and the speed of your machine to make sure that your fabric or your unit is sewn perfectly. So here we go. Oops, it would help if I put my presser foot down. Oops. All right, here we go. I'm not perfect, and that's why I keep these bloopers in my videos so that you can see we all make mistakes, and you know what? It's okay to make a mistake. You fix your mistake and you keep on going. All right. Let me sew, let me sew, let me sew. I'm just going to make it a little bit faster so that we're not dragging into a half-hour video, because we don't want that. I want to keep your attention. I want to keep you focused on what's going on. So I'm going to make my machine go a little bit faster because I've been making these strips, and I feel a lot more confident because this is probably my 30th strip set that I've made. So I feel a little bit confident in sewing it like this a little bit faster. Okay, I stop and I make sure my two pieces of fabric are even. And then I'm sewing and sewing and sewing and sewing. And I'm almost at the end. I want to make sure that these two sections are even and equal. And now we're done with sewing this strip set. I'll take it out. And again, I want to iron my seam to the dark side, so I'm going to put it with the print up, set my seam, and then I'm going to iron it open. Let me go ahead and do that, and then I will meet you at the cutting board, and we're going to see how this looks. And now my strip set is now complete. Oops, I ironed it kind of weird. So while I'm talking to you, I'm going to fix this. And now I'm ready to cut my strip set into 2.5 inch units. First thing I want to do is I want to get rid of the selvages right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler. I'm using the stitch line as a marker. My stitch line will be a straight line. I will take one of the lines of my ruler. Let me move this so you can see it. One of the lines of my ruler for the third time, and I'm going to place it right on the stitch mark. Hold it down safely. Let me back it up just a little so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to take my rotary cutter, open it up. I'm showing you how to cut it as right-handed. Close it, and now I have squared up or evened out this edge. Now I want to do it for this side, and I'm going to show you left-handed cutting how to do it. Again, I'm going to take my ruler. Sorry, I want to make sure everybody sees this. And I'm going to take one of the lines and line it up to my stitching line. And as I said, my stitching line is a straight line. Take my 3 fingers on my ruler, 2 fingers here, open up my rotary cutter with my left hand, and I'm going to slice across. I am done. Now I want to make 2.5 inch units. Even though I am left-handed, I cut with my right. I know, kind of weird. My ruler is 2.5 inches wide. I'm going to use my ruler. I'm going to have to do it this way. I'm going to use my ruler as a guide mark. I'm going to cut right-handed. Again, I'm using my stitch mark right here. Let me see if I can move this up. I'm going to use my stitch mark right here as a guideline. I'm going to line up the left side of my 3 strip to a line on my grid, my cutting mat, making sure that I'm straight all the way across. Take one of my lines on my ruler, match it up to the stitching. I'm using the bottom stitching. 3 fingers on the ruler, at least a 1/2 inch away from the cutting edge. 2 fingers on the mat, or the fabric in the mat. Open up my rotary cutter, slice, close it. And now I have a precise 2.5 inch block. Now, if you want to get brave, what you can do is you could fold it in half, match up your edges, and cut 2 at a time. But because I am such a dork and I'm not comfortable doing it that way, I will do it that way to show you what it looks like. You'll match your edges up over here. Make sure everything is nice and even, like this. Put your ruler, your 2.5 inch ruler, right here. Take one of the lines, like I said, match it up to the sewing line. 3 fingers, 2 fingers out, open, slice, close. And now I have 2 pieces that are now 2.5 inches. And I'll cut my entire strip. I like to cut it individually because I want to make sure that the fabric is, the strip is squared up, because sometimes, and you can see right here, it's not. So I'm going to square it up before I make my next cut. Sorry about my head if you see it. I'm going to square it up. And now I have a nice squared up piece of fabric that I can cut, close, open, line it up, make sure everything is lined up over here, fingers, and cut. I'm going to do one more for you. Line it up, open up, cut, close, put it off to the side. I now have 5 units from my 3 strip set. I hope you enjoyed this video. I showed you how to make a strip set to make 3 blocks very easily, 2.5-inch blocks using a 3 strip set. Sorry, I'm having a senior moment. Using a strip set like this, 3 pieces of fabric, 2.5-inch by width of fabric. The solid was 44 inches and the print was 45. We saw that. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment below, share, like, subscribe. Come see me on Facebook at EMOs Liz. You can email me any questions, and you'll find the email address below in the comments. My name is Liz. We are at EMOs Creative Studio, where anything you create is beautiful because you created it. Happy quilting, and until the next time, bye.